Welcome to Labcast, a podcast about the medical laboratory science profession, brought to you by MedLab Convo. To get notified once we drop an episode, you can do well to subscribe to all our social media platforms at MedLab Convo. For questions, feedbacks, and shoutouts, you can do well to send a mail to at medlabconvolabcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.
Welcome to another episode on Labcast. And today's conversation is a very interesting conversation. Today, we're talking about graduates. Many fresh graduates find themselves unsure of what steps to take after school, especially when it comes to securing their first job. In this podcast, we have honest and practical conversations about what it really takes to navigate the job market and build a career in medical laboratory science. I'm your host, Oluwadamilola, and I am joined by a special guest today in person of Miss Iheoma Nnorom, who is a medical laboratory scientist and a social media manager thriving in this exciting economy. Welcome, MLS Iheoma.
Thank you, Dami. Nice to be here.
Thank you for honoring our invitation, and we hope to learn so much from your personal experience in this conversation. So let's get right into it. Talking about getting your first job as a medical laboratory science graduate, would you like to tell us what it has been for you trying to secure your first job after school?
Okay, thank you for that question. As it stands now, I I am not employed as a medical laboratory scientist, if I might put it that way. And I why is but the period between December last year and has been it's been a lot this year, honestly, because I didn't expect that the journey would be as strenuous as it has been. Applying for jobs, going for interviews, getting on virtual interviews, even a physical interview last week. I made new hair for the interview, and at the end of the day, I wasn't picked. But I mean, it's all part of the journey and the story. I have just been going on with the belief that a moving man will one day meet his luck. I guess that has been my mantra for the year. But yeah, it's been a lot, to be honest. That has been it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. So, you're saying that you're still on the job hunting period, trying to get your first role after NYC as a medical laboratory scientist. So, I'd like to ask, as regards searching for a job, what has been the experience for you? We know how saturated the MLS job market is. So, what steps have you been taking to land your first job?
What steps have I been taking to land my first job? Well, for one, I have been the first thing first, right? If anybody's looking for a job, is to just do proper work on their CV. And I did not notice that because I have two types of CV, right? I am also in the creative space. So I have a CV that's tailored for that. And I had to make a CV tailored to the profession based on all the experiences that I've gathered in the profession. And as much as possible, you have to make sure that your CV is good looking. Good looking in the sense that the facts that you're putting there, they are they are good experiences that you have gathered along the way, and there are also experiences that are correct. So, for example, um, one of the job interviews that I went for, I had my academic CV, that's the one that contains all my professional details about what I've done in the profession. I edited it I got someone's CV and I used it as a template to like edit my CV and put it in order and whatnot. And when I went for the interviewer going through my CV asked me because under a setting I put publication and under the publication was my project work. I just put it as okay, my project work is a research publication, right? Which was quite ignorant of me because when you say something is a publication, it means that it has been published in a journal or something. So when the interviewer was going through, it was like, oh, you have a publication, like you've published papers, and then I had to start explaining that, oh no, not publish like publish, but publish like I mean, who is going to answer you in all honesty? Or people will then start looking at you as though you are lying on your CV. So I know that sometimes people like to say, oh, just exaggerate some things on your CV. But please, when you're putting out a CV, make sure that the facts that you're putting out there are correct so that anybody that is doing a background check can be sure that what you put out there is correct. Yeah, so that's on one end when it comes to CV. Also, when it comes to going out to look for jobs. I think under the many people have this knowledge that you just apply once or twice and then you sit down. You apply once or twice and then you sit down. If you're looking for a job hunting on itself is a job. It's another job. It takes time, it takes energy, it takes your money. The money that you are looking for through the job, it will take your money. I kid you not, and I've heard people that have done more than I have. But I kid you not that I have put out at least 30 job applications, and I'm not joking about it. I apply like I've been applying and applying and applying. And these are some of the things that it would take, right? There are some things that you would hear the pay and you'd be like, no, this pay is quite beneath me. I know we're going to go there later. But yes, it's going to take your time, it's going to take your energy. You're going to have to tailor your CV well. Or if it's possible, pay somebody to do the CV well for you. Try as much as possible not to lie on your CV. So if they run a background check, it will show that you're an honest person because nobody wants to employ somebody that is dishonest. Then you have to put in the work. Job hunting is a job by itself. You have to go around looking for jobs, be alert online, tailor your LinkedIn profile to show that you're looking for jobs and just put yourself out there. And it might take some time for some people, but at the end of the day, you're going to get a good job. So yeah, that's it on my end. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your response. You literally identified the common mistakes that a lot of fresh graduates make when trying to land their first job. To re-emphasize the things you said about making sure that you're honest on your CV, make sure that the experiences that you share are real experiences. So just like um everyone is trying to, create a first impression, which your CV does for you, including your cover letter as well, you have to make sure that your first impression is not based on a lie. And yes, I also appreciate emphasizing on the fact that you have to have a very polished CV. Like I said, your CV is your first impression. Your employer to be has never met you before, but your CV should portray all the details necessary to know you are capable of the job. Thank you so much. So I'd like to ask, in terms of searching for a job, what is your take about going ahead to volunteer for a role in a particular organization in hope that you might get a job? What's your take on volunteering or doing free work in the time in search of a job? Let's say in the place of medical laboratory science jobs now. What's your take about volunteering?
Yeah, if you have little to no experience and you're still living under your parents' roof. At least you're being fed and you're being housed. It's not like you're paying for all of that. I don't think volunteering is a bad idea. However, I also think that there are window periods that you can utilize so that when you are done with NYSC and you're in the job uh, market, you would not need to, like, you would not need an extended time to look for a job. For example, I know a lot of people that during their wait for internship or during their wait for NYSC, they went to look for jobs, right? I, on one end, when I was done before I got in, after induction rather, before internship, I volunteered in a facility for like a month before I got into internship. And that helped my microscopy skill a lot. That made me to see some like the private, practicing in the private laboratory and all of that. So I think that if you have little to no experience, knowing how these laboratories can move these days, where they ask for people that have post NYSC 2 years of experience or certain demands, if your parents are still feeding you and it's not like there's sort of an undue pressure for you to get money, you can volunteer for a while and that would sharpen your skills, and then you would then maybe get a job that is paying. Beyond volunteering, right, there is also that where you can see a pay that is not so friendly for you. Now, let me touch that because that's another question as
Okay,
well.
so let's
Where
just address that conversation as well.
okay,
The place of getting jobs that are not so, enticing. So we have this term we call the dream job, the perfect job. Oh, I want to work in so and so organization, an organization that can offer HMO packages, offer, all of that. And at the moment, while you're still searching for this kind of job, or for somebody who's just starting job hunting and you have that mind. So what's your take about holding on to getting your dream job versus actually just getting what is available? Because I know that that's where the conversation is leading right now. Just getting what's available at the moment to pay the bills and all of that for the meantime, and also gather experience before you actually land your dream job.
yeah. So anybody that is talking about a dream job now should be somebody that, based on the economy that we find ourselves and based on where we are, where we're located. If you're just entering into the labor market, it will be unwise and quite dreamy, except you know somebody that knows the president. But it will be quite unwise and dreamy for you to be having a dream job and salary expectations that looks way beyond the norms. That somebody that has been in the profession for 10 years, after 10 years, that's when they start getting the pay. That's what you're wishing for now. A dream job and salary expectations with benefits should be something that you look towards in 5 years or 10, 5 to 7 years time. 10 years is quite a reach, but 5 to 7 years time. So I would always advise that in the meantime, like I said, if you have little to no experience, that I'm hitting on little to no experience because you're trying to gather experience, you're trying to just not be idle. When you're idle, you can just settle into that. You can just really be relaxed. So you need something to keep you mentally busy. Okay. So for you not to settle into um that air of laxity, you need to get something to stimulate you, to help you. So in that moment, I would say if you have little to no experience, please, if you see any available thing in that moment, please by all means take it. I would give an example. So I remember in 2022, during the strike period, I was done with my final exams, waiting for defense, and we there was a strike, and that strike held for about 8 to 10 months. So everybody was at home, and I got a job. When I mean that job took my blood, took my energy, took my sleep. The job I got was an online job anyway, but it was draining. I was working almost round the clock. They would make corrections. I was working round the clock and they were paying me literal peanuts. When I mean peanuts. In that moment, did I really need the money? To some extent, but I was under my father and mother. So they were feeding me. I was eating well. I just needed the money for one or two things to cater to myself. Aside that, my parents were the ones feeding me. In short, they laid me off, right? And when they laid me off, they told me they were going because I had worked some days into the month. They told me they were going to pay me a percentage of the money. Till today, as we are talking, that was in 2022, we're in 2026. 4 years down the line, those people have still not paid me that money that they're owing me. But that experience is in my CV. The the work I did for them has been included in my portfolio. Like my portfolio is full of the works that anywhere I go to and I want to show somebody my creative portfolio, I can show it to them. I used the money judiciously as at that time and I gained experience as well. It was in that work that I learned that I was this hardworking. It was in that work I learned that I could be this mentally challenged and work really hard. Okay. So I think that if you have an available option in the moment, you can go for it. Start with it, but don't end with it. And don't be comfortable in it. Enter it with the mindset that you are going to move on. Don't enter it and then sit there. That's where the problem is. And these kinds of jobs can drain you because when it saps all your energy, you'll just be so tired to apply for more. But please, you would always take out time and always remind yourself that I'm not ending here, I'm not ending here. I have something, I have a goal, I have a vision, and then you move on from it. So if you have little to no experience and at least you still have some form of financial support from people, take that little job and use it to climb. There's also the part where people from outside might be looking at you that you're comfortable because they are still feeding you. That's why you are sitting down and you're waiting for a dream job. Go out, right? So there's that part as well. You don't want to be seen as not doing anything, as lazy, as being relaxed. Even if it's the little one, if you're faithful in little, you'll be faithful in much. She that's faithful in little is faithful in much. So the only reason that you would wait for your dream job is if you've gathered so much experience, number one. Number two, if you have, at least you've saved enough to be independent. So much so that you don't need to lean on anybody for financial support. If you have done that, then you can wait for a while till whenever you find that dream job. But if you're just starting out, there's no dream job for now. So yeah, that's it.
I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. So, the idea is to
Uh,
stay active, build your portfolio, develop your skills, but don't stay complacent. Don't stay complacent. Don't get comfortable in that job. Use that. Make sure that you're relating and gathering as much information and still applying to other jobs till you can get to that destination that you want to achieve. So, my next question is this: in a world where how far we go is determined by how connected we are. To an extent, many people get advantage of others because their parents knew somebody or know somebody, or somehow they became friends with someone who could open the door for them to get into that position
okay.
that they want. Do you think that the strength of connection can overpower the competence of an individual when job hunting?
Do I think that the strength of connection can overpower the competence of an individual? Do you want honest answers? You want an
Please go
honest
ahead.
reply?
Our audience, they are ready to hear from you what you actually think
even our
about this, because a lot of
even
people
the
actually have
audience.
this in mind. They see people who are less, competent than they are, get into places that they are actually fighting so hard to get through. So, what's your take on that?
Okay. Even the audience listening, I'm sure they are like, Yimu, is is it not this country? But yes, if we're to be honest, you are in this part of the world, and maybe any part of the world, to be honest, nepotism is a thing, I guess. But aside that, I think connections and competence can work hand in hand. When I mean connection and competence can work hand in hand, and this is why as scientists, we have to develop ourselves, volunteer, go for outreaches, whatever it might be, to just sharpen your skills and learn very well during your internship phase, right? Because when I say connections and competence can go hand in hand, there are so many, you cannot reach many facilities. You cannot reach all the facilities to look for jobs. There might be a job opening somewhere in Ikeja or somewhere in Lekki or somewhere in Ogbomoso or somewhere in Port Harcourt. And you're not going to see it. You cannot see everything, right? It will be somebody that knows somebody that will probably see it and let you know that, oh, there's a job opening in this place. And then you bring your CV. And this is why I said connection and competence work hand in hand. Because connection would be that somebody can open the door of connection to you that, oh, bring your CV. Let me see what you can do. And when you bring your CV, they then run an interview or see what you can do based on your competence. So I was thinking that I went for an interview last week. Somebody connected me to a place where they needed someone. Okay. And when I went for that interview, I was interviewed. I was screened. And after the screening process, according to the job interviewer, I did not meet up to some of the things that she probably wanted, right? Although they gave me their own reason for why I wasn't chosen. But anyway, the point is, it was the person that told me about the job interview was somebody working in that facility. If she wasn't working in that facility and she didn't know me, there is no way that I would have gone for that interview, right? But because she was working in that facility and she knew me, she informed me about it. And when I went there, I was screened and I wasn't chosen. That is the beauty about connection. So connections are not entirely bad, but that shouldn't be the only thing that will determine if you get into a place. Where it becomes really horrible is where there are other competent individuals, and because of connection, somebody just uses the back door to enter into a place and is given a role. And let me give a story, right? So one of the places where I worked previously, when we usually had seminar presentations, they would bring all of us, like people working there. And there was this guy that every time it was time for him to present, he had zero knowledge on, I mean, particularly in hematology. He had zero knowledge. When I mean he had zero knowledge, he had zero knowledge. This was in all the laboratories though, like every department. So it's not even just about hematology. In microbiology, he missed. He had to do a presentation again. In chemical pathology, every laboratory. So all the scientists already knew that he was unserious, and everybody was like, "This one, like, there's really nothing that he wants to offer." Do you know that 6 months post when I left that workplace, I heard that he had been employed in that same place. This is somebody that could not work unsupervised. This was somebody that during presentations he kept mixing things up. This was somebody that just there was just this anyhowness to how he worked, how he handled samples. And because of connections, he went through the back door and was employed in this same place. And we just kept wondering, do these people know what they are doing? Because the number of lives at stake, just because somebody who did not understand what he was doing as a scientist was employed. So you see when connection mostly becomes a problem, right? When you bring somebody that has zero competence into a place, when there are other competent people that you can bring in. I also want to add that many people think that there is no hope in Nigeria, that you always have to know somebody before you get a job. That is not true. I currently work as a social media manager, and I got the job like on the fly. When I mean on the fly, I was interviewed, of course, but I did not know anybody. The owner of the company didn't know me. I didn't know the person, and that was how I got the job. So in other facilities as well, there are places that you don't have to know anybody. But if you don't go out and search, and you have the mindset that you always have to know somebody, that's how you're going to miss it. So cast, the Bible says, cast your bread upon many waters. Cast yourself. I tell you, job hunting is a job on its own. You would have to cast your bread upon many waters. You have to apply to as many places as possible. I was watching a video and I heard a guy say that he had to apply to at least how many places a day? I think 50 applications. I sat down again and brought out my laptop and I started applying for jobs again. That is how tedious it is. And really, you just need 1 yes. You just need 1 yes, and that's it, you're employed. So if you keep on going on with the idea that people would always choose connections over competence, then you'll be doing yourself a disfavor. So apply as much as possible, and one time you'll be employed. Yeah, thank you.
Our dearest listeners, you just heard from the horse's mouth. Our guest is a medical laboratory scientist and still has uh, an online role as a social media manager that she's doing very well at right now. So, this is to say that there are so many paths that you can explore as a medical laboratory scientist. You should not limit your job hunting, your adventure as a medical laboratory scientist to just bench work. We had an episode, our previous episode was on beyond the bench. What are the other career paths that you can explore as a medical laboratory scientist? And if you haven't listened to it, I encourage you to do so because we discussed many other career paths in medical laboratory science that goes across content creation, academics, public health, and all of that procurement. These are opportunities that you can explore. All you need to do most times is just to add an additional digital skill. And thank God for the internet, you can get courses online, both paid and unpaid courses that you can add to your CV and which will make you a good candidate to apply for any of these jobs. And also, like our guest has said, you have to have it at the back of your mind that connection can open the door sometimes, but connection doesn't give you that seat. Connection doesn't retain you in that position. Your competence does. So if you think that being connected is the only ticket you need to get your dream job, you need to think again. You need to get better at what you do, be the best and stand out. And even that sometimes can break the door open for you in situations that you really need to get that job. So if you have been sitting and wondering, when am I going to land my first job? Sit tight, my dear friends. Don't worry. The yes is coming very soon. And you're going to be so excited when you get it because it's going to be worth your time. So, as we conclude this conversation, I'd like to ask you, how do you um, channel your mindset? How do you manage rejections? How do you manage that period of waiting as an individual? You know, you shared your experience about a recent interview that you got and you applied for. You believe that you did everything you could, rightly, but at the end of the day, you got a no. So, to our listeners, how do you think that we can undo rejections early enough in the career? Imagine just trying to get your first job and you had like 10 interviews and still haven't gotten back from any one of them. Or and you're there waiting that somebody will actually take a chance on you. So in this period, what do you do with your mind? How do you control your mindset to still stay hopeful for that job that you're waiting on?
Hmm. Hmm. It's prayer too. Rejection does something to you. Oh my God. Last year, sorry, I like telling stories. Let's just make it more relatable. Last year, I was serving, right? And I thought that after service, I would go to Abuja. I was being led towards Abuja. And I applied for a program that I had scaled through different like various stages of the interview. It was just the last interview remaining. And I was hoping to get a positive response from it. Um when the response came early this year, as in January beginning, I got a rejection. I was so pained. Like I cried. I cried. It was so painful to me. And rejections can be painful. From then until now, I've gotten a truck of rejections. I still got one beginning of this month. I got another one last week. I've just been getting rejections upon rejections, you know, this year. But I mean, just knowing that you are not what the rejection, like, how do I put it? You are not the rejection, if I may put it that way. The fact that you're getting a rejection does not mean that it's not who you are, right? It's just my plea that you're not best suited for the role in the moment. You need to up your skills, or you're not just a fit for the role in that moment. I take it as that. There's a rejection I got beginning of this month, and I was told that I had scored. So they did an interview. They had over 200 applications. From 200 applications, they reduced it to 32 applications, and I was part of the 32, right? And then they gave a task, and from the 32, they will pick six. From six, they will pick three. Can you imagine the rigorous processes that go on during these interviews? And after the task for the 32 applicants, which I was among, they sent me a mail beginning of the month, and they told me that this is my score, and even the lowest person that they picked, this was what the person scored. So the score range was about 15%. I scored about 68. The third person they chose scored about 80, what, 86, I guess. So you can imagine the percentage difference. It was just a wake up call to like better my skills, also get mentors in the field to help, right? That's another thing. If you have someone guiding you, it helps you better. You know what to say, what not to say, what to put, what not to put. They would sort of oversee you and help you. So just don't take rejections as a dent on your person, right? It's just for you to better your skills. There are people that will take you on the fly. You have not just met them yet. And yes, I just pray. I talk to God about it. Ah, I pray. I talk to God about it. I tell myself that this is not the end. I am. I am good. Affirmations, basically, and just continue reapplying because you can't stop. You can't stop. Like I said, my mantra this year is a moving man will one day meet his luck. So you will not allow one rejection from you don't even know the kind of HR the person is to now put you down. No, 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 no. So yeah, that's it. Just keep moving. You might cry, it might be painful, but trust yourself and keep moving. The last rejection I received, my mom was so down. She was like, "Oh no, why?" Everybody was like, "Oh no, why?" I said, "Well, it is what it is." But since then till now, I still applied it. You have to be stubborn about it and move on. Yeah, that's it basically.
It's a really emotional story to hear, and I know a lot of our listeners feel this way. I can't say I know how you feel because everybody's experience is different. We've all had our personal share of setbacks, delays, rejections, but this is a reminder that you should keep going. Someone is definitely out there who is willing to take a chance on you. You're going to get to that point where you'll be too good to be rejected. You'll be too good to be said no to, and everybody will want to associate with you. So while you're waiting for that big yes, keep working on yourself, keep building your skills, keep getting better. Talk about your emotions with your friends and families, but don't let it keep you down. Remember, be stubborn. So this brings us to the end of our conversation today. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Labcast, and we hope that you've gained valuable insights into navigating the job market as a young medical laboratory science graduate. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and stay connected for more conversations on career, growth, and the evolving world of healthcare. You can email us at medlabconvolabcast@gmail.com because we would love to hear your thoughts and hear about your journey as well. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms at MedLabConvo. Until next time, keep exploring and stay curious. Bye.